Wow. We're not even started the podcast yet. But with that, let's get it started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 47, I'm told, of the Life Short Live Free podcast. A little bit of a different podcast here today. We actually got a guest in studio. We got the usual crew, myself, your host, Sam. We also got Box over there and Johnson, the usual. And then we got a friend of the show. We've known Mike quite a while, actually. But he was out at the what was it? Our little hangout, yeah. Life Short Live Free hangout, and was telling us some of his stories. And Mike's a mortician, so he had some interesting stories. So we thought it'd be fun. He's also a veteran, so we thought it'd be nice to have him on the podcast and hear some of his stories, and should be fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Glad to have you.
I think it's going to be a good time. So with that, it is January. Is it the 2nd?
Yes.
It's January 2nd. Johnson is still hungover. I think I think the rest of us are pretty good. You guys have a good New Year's?
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. Pretty low key with some close friends. And
good.
Hey,
good.
Sam.
Yeah.
You forgot the rest of the introduction again.
What?
What's
sponsored by?
We gotta.
Well, I just didn't get to that part.
We gotta remember. We do have to remind him because, like, if I have
do
to,
we need cue cards up here?
Right? Because, like,
sponsorship.
When I gotta put in.
That'd actually be great. Can we?
Speaking of which.
Teleprompter back here behind me,
right?
You know, for Sam,
fucking hey, we need to get a producer that handles all that shit, and then they could just like, if I got to remember something, they could just like shoot me with a Nerf gun. Oh yeah, okay. By the way,
sponsor, yeah,
yeah. And before I forget,
those are our sponsor darts.
We are sponsored by Ballistic Imagery. Check him out for all your photography and videography needs at ballisticimagery.com, as well as on Facebook and Instagram. And yeah, Box, you also have a coupon code for, what is it, 10% off?
I do. That coupon code will now be LSLF 2021. I'm going to have to go home and change that.
I'm going to have to update it.
Yeah.
That will get you 10% off all the prints on his website. He's got some badass prints, guns, cars. They're either on is it canvas prints?
Nope.
Or metal?
There's aluminum prints, and there is canvas, I guess. I don't know why I said no, yes. Aluminum and canvas, yes.
Yeah.
All right. And also is sponsored by Shyworks Cerakote for all your Cerakote certified needs. Look us up. We also are in cahoots with Ballistic Imagery, so if we do a gun for you and you want one of those badass aluminum prints or just a normal photographer, what was I going to say? I was going to say photography, but photograph. So photograph. If you want any photographs of your badass guns.
I promise he does Cerakote better than he speaks.
I definitely do. But anyways, if you have one of your guns done by us, we also got a special deal with Ballistic Imagery. We can get your gun photographed for you, and either print it on a normal photograph or one of those badass aluminum prints. So, So back to what I was saying before you guys reminded me. Box, how was your New Year's Eve?
Mine was fine.
What'd you do?
Nothing.
He's being very secretive.
He's been pretty secretive about, a couple of nights that he was kind of radio silent. And,
you think?
I don't think those are relevant.
You think he went to a Furby New Year's Eve or something like that? Does he have a tail on right now?
He's got one of those butt plugs that's also a foxtail.
Shut up, Johnson.
Nobody's supposed to know about that.
Speaking of which, I have a story about that kind of. So I'm not going to tell it on the podcast, but
why not?
Remind me.
What the hell?
Remind me after the podcast. I'll tell you guys about it.
That's what kind of image that's going to put in people's mind.
I don't care. Doesn't bother me none.
Miles is going to be blowing up your inbox and be like, I need to know.
Which one are you using?
Do you have any links?
Mine, thanks for asking, by the way. My New Year's Eve was pretty low key. It was nice. Went down and had some ribeye steak down in Anthem at the Fireside.
Oh, yeah.
How was that?
It was good. The ambiance, they redid the whole thing, so it's a nice place in there. I thought the food was The food was pretty good. The steak was really delicious. They're known for their prime rib, of course. Mm-hmm. They had a special for New York strips. Otherwise, I would have got the prime rib. But it was pretty good. I got no complaints. So we did that, and then went to the girlfriend's brother's house till I don't know 1:30 or so, and went home, and that was about the extent of it. So no crazy ragers or anything.
You were out later than me. I was in bed by 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve.
You didn't even make it till midnight, you old bastard.
No. Well, I knew we had people coming over Friday night, so I didn't want to stay up super late Thursday
So it
night,
sounds like, can you guys hear this? It sounds like Johnson is almost like he's sick, but he's just tired.
No, I was up till, I think I went to bed at like 4 o'clock this morning, got up at 7:30.
You know your old ass can't do that anymore. Right?
I know. I'm
finding that out.
I'm slowly learning that is not a thing that I can do anymore.
Right? How old are you?
30.
Once you hit 30, once you hit 30, I don't know what it is, but there's like a biological switch in your body. You hit 30 and it's like the hangovers are way worse.
Yeah. Dude, I miss the days where it was like you could get just thrashed, hungover, and it's like by noon you eat some greasy ass lunch and you're like, yeah, I'm good to go, let's party again. It's like now it's like I gotta have 3 days to fully get set back up to where I'm prepared mentally to do that again.
It's like 3 o'clock the next day rolls around and I'm like, I'm just Jones, and I'm like, fuck, I'm just gonna go have another one, and I'll feel a little bit, just have one just to make yourself feel better. And then it's horrible.
Yeah, so I don't know how the whiskey of the week's gonna do for me this week. It's either gonna be really good or really bad.
Well, speaking of that, why don't we dive into the whiskey of the week right now? And whiskey
of the week.
Box is providing this week's. What do you got today?
This is Cedar Ridge. This is hopefully going to be a contender for the podium. It's been a while since we've had any contenders. So
it really has, yeah.
This is actually the distillery that makes the Slipknot No. 9 too. So I have pretty high hopes for this.
Is that the same bottle?
Probably.
But it's the same bottle?
No, it's not.
No? Different?
Oh, I think it's the same bottle. No, it's not. It's got a different bottom on it.
Get that. But come on, Box. You know the rules. Do it a little closer.
Well, you got to get it in the microphone.
It's been so long. I'm sorry.
Jeez. So this is what I see. It says like 43% on there, which is an odd number.
Is.
A lot of little Mike
shaking.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Anyways, like I said, 43%. What is this exactly? A bourbon or
Yes, this is an Iowa corn bourbon. It is crafted of 74% family farmed corn and fermented and distilled off grain. A clean, approachable sipping whiskey.
Where's made? Where's the distillery at?
Swisher, Iowa.
Where's Swisher at?
I'm not sure, but this is actually the top selling whiskey in Iowa right now.
Seriously? I've never heard of it.
And it was kind of spendy, so it better be fucking delicious.
Jesus Christ. Every time this guy.
This is going to be...
every time this guy.
I guess he's going to drink it the rest of the episode. We'll let it slide. You want the court?
Sure.
Yeah. Smooth.
No. Hopefully the whiskey is, because I ain't. This is a bourbon whiskey, 43%. Aged a minimum of 12 or 3 years. What was the text?
I was trying to think on that on the 10 high.
We got
three or less years.
Three or more.
No, it was something.
It was stupid. Some weird stupid shit.
Yeah, never gonna figure it out.
That didn't make any sense. It was like, well,
so this smells
because it was whiskey. Like a blended deal, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's like they just went to the liquor store and bought a bunch of shit and threw it together. And called it 10 high. They bought 10 different whiskeys. So
we bought all the little remaining drippings from a bunch of different barrels from different places imported in our bottles, and there you go.
It's got a nice nose to it.
It does. It smells. Actually, it's got a little spice on the nose too.
It's delightful.
A little bit.
It's got a nice flavor. I think it would be excellent with ice.
Wow. Actually, I got ice over there,
smooth,
Box.
Yeah.
If you want some, go grab it.
Well, I only wanted ice, so we can continue sipping it. Yeah.
That's good.
It is. I'm going to say a 1 to 13, maybe a 9, 10.
God, your fucking ratings.
9 or a 10. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's smooth.
It is smooth.
It is really smooth.
Are you a whiskey guy, Mike?
I'm not a connoisseur, but I've had a few in my day.
Neither are we. We don't know jack shit. We just like drinking whiskey.
Yeah.
Our rating scale is, can we get drunk off this?
Yep, it passes.
Yeah, I think it'll pass that for sure.
Right.
It's good.
Every single one has passed so far. It's crazy.
Right.
Well, except maybe a couple of them.
That fucking mango habanero.
Yeah, 10
that
high.
shit. That didn't pass.
I don't know. The only thing to me is this flavor is really, it's a really mellow flavor.
It doesn't have a ton of flavor to it,
Right.
but it's smooth.
Yeah. I don't really want a lot of flavor.
Right.
It's got just the right amount
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how different is it from...
I don't know. I'd have to compare it.
We were complaining that the Lead Slingers last week didn't have much, or last 2 weeks didn't have much flavor.
That was super bland to me.
That was really plain. I was really surprised.
Mike, what do you rate it?
Haven't not tested any. Well, I've had a couple of those, but I'm gonna give it is it out of 13 or 10?
It's out of whatever you want it to be.
Make up a number. And
I might give it a 8.5 or 9. I like it.
Yeah.
Out of 10 or 13?
12.5.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Baker's dozen.
Yeah.
Vox, what do you think?
I don't know. I might give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I like it.
9 out of 10, huh?
Yeah.
Do you think it's challenges for the podium?
Well, I don't like Pendleton at all, so yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. One of these, we'll have to get together one of these days. We don't need to do it on this podcast, obviously, since we have a guest. But one of these days, we'll get together and
Oh, sure, leave me out.
That was one of the stipulations. You're actually going to have to drink and try all these tonight.
Every single one.
Put a cod up in here.
Yep.
Right.
Especially the mango habanero.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have some around?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drink
do
that
you
shit.
do you like spicy stuff?
Yeah, but I don't know. It scares me in a whiskey, I think.
It's
just
an
like a harsh
experience.
whiskey.
It's an experience.
Is there not much mango to it?
No.
I don't know. Depends. Like when you drink it straight, there's not a lot of mango to it. But when we mixed it, we made Bloody Marys with it, and it was not good.
Ooh.
But it really brought out the mango.
Yeah, it was a lot fruitier when it was mixed.
Yeah.
Which is probably the intention with some shit like mango habanero whiskey.
Yeah, and I feel like flavored stuff like that, a lot of times they expect you to mix
Yeah, I
it.
wasn't a fan.
No.
Definitely. We made Toad drink it last time he was on here. He about ralphed.
Yeah.
Which is his usual response to most of the
Any
whiskeys
whiskey, pretty much. Anything other than what he brings.
Yeah. Johnson, what's your rating?
Out of 56 pounds in a bushel of corn, I would give it 53.5 pounds. That's pretty damn good.
So that's like, yeah, that's pretty high. Like out of 10, that's like way up in the
That's like
nines.
9.7, yeah.
Sure. I don't know. I don't math good, but it sounds good. So yeah, let's I think this is definitely in contention box. We'll have to
I would definitely say at minimum it knocks off Pendleton.
You think?
Yeah.
We'll have to try them head to head.
What
To head to head.
we still got the 1792 up top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good stuff. If you're in the market in Iowa for a decent, nice sipping whiskey, Cedar Ridge is a pretty good option.
Yeah,
I feel like we're never going to come back to this. We have a tendency to do that, where we're like, we're going to do this.
Okay,
And
then the only way that we do is if we do it immediately after the podcast here.
Oh boy.
But then the listeners don't know what we're doing.
Well, yeah,
Next
but
time.
if we do it live, then it's going to be a...
How about we continue sipping our whiskeys, finish what we have here, and we move on with the podcast. Then when we're done, we can try Pendleton, and we can kind of revisit it.
Oh, shit, whatever. Okay, what's Pendleton? 3?
Yeah.
What's 2?
Maker's
Mark. All right.
I definitely think it knocks off Pendleton, but I don't know. It's going to be a tough match with Maker's Mark, I think.
All right, we'll try that. So speaking of in the interest of moving on with the podcast, I mentioned we have our buddy Mike here. Mike, you've known Johnson quite a while. Several years.
2017, 2018.
Okay. Well, I guess about the same.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I met him first, but you weren't far behind.
Right. Yeah, I guess I've known you
because
for
I was
a few
kind of
years
working
as well.
in the area at that time, and
2018, I think.
and
beginning of 2018.
I'd run into you at the gun shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, Small Town Sportsman.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep.
So yeah, we've known him for a few years. A friend of the show. He was at the hangout, and like I said, He's a veteran and a mortician, so we kind of wanted to bring him on and he can share some of his stories. I think the first thing most people probably ask you when they're speaking to you about this sort of thing is like, how do you get into this line of work?
Okay, so kind of through the military is actually how I got into it. Joined the Army, and there wasn't anything medical per se there, and that's kind of what I was leaning toward. And the recruiter, of course, wanting to get me in, was telling me a bunch of other lies and things like that. But he said, "Hey, go ahead."
Was this after? Did you join the military after college? Did you go to college?
In the middle of college, I long story short, and I'll keep some of the details out of that. But started college, did really well, transferred to University of Kansas, and acted like a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, instead of graduating and going on to bigger and better things, I found myself looking for some discipline. So I ran into a recruiter. He had a couple options, and those were not valid because I had enough hours, but I didn't have an actual degree.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, well, we got this mortuary affairs thing, and since Vietnam, they got rid of a lot of them because they didn't need them. And this was right after Desert Storm,
mm-hmm.
So in between Desert Storm and Desert Shield. And so they were ramping those numbers back up, and the points were low. And I figured if I'm going to do something medical down the road, I'll have to deal with that portion of it. So I joined as a mortuary affairs specialist, and that's kind of how that started. And worked in a morgue doing autopsies in El Paso at Fort Bliss. And was that just military people that were military? I guess, what do you call them? Cadavers? Decedents, or
okay.
Just so most of them were elderly that retired in El Paso, so there wasn't a need for an autopsy there. But you'd have accidents or suicides or things like that, and so then I was doing autopsies and helping the guy that did those perform those, and then of course your pathologist, the actual doctor, would come in to watch those and oversee them, but you didn't have to have that specialty to do the actual work,
the hands-on work,
to keep it kind of easy. But so I did that for a while. I was lucky enough to go to Cuba for 6 months and work at the Naval Hospital at Getmo, and then that's where I first saw some embalmings because we had to prepare them to come back. The Army doesn't have licensed embalmers, but the Navy does, and I believe the Air Force. But your Marines and Army just have the mortuary affairs, which that's what I was into. Did fingerprint, dental processing, their personal effects, things like that. So that was my first introduction to embalming. Then when I got back to Texas, my new chain of command didn't really see the need to have me working at the hospital, so they stuck me in a tool truck in the motor pool. And if you know me, I'm not very mechanic. I didn't know, the tools like I should. So anyway, when it came to re-enlist, I got out and went back to Hastings, Nebraska, where I started school and finished. And then I was working part-time at a funeral home as an intern, and then decided to go on from there.
So say a person was, if that's what they knew that they wanted to do that out of high school, what do you have to go? Do you have to have a degree? Do you have to get trained and stuff before you start in a mortuary, or?
You will take electives and general gen ed,
sure,
speech and things like that, and get your background as far as the states differ as far as licensing.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, it's chemistry, microbiology. So you will get that out of the way, and then, or you can go straight from high school to a mortuary school and do it in about 2 years.
Really?
Yep.
Is there a lot of that? Is there very many young people in that profession? Is there very many going into it?
I haven't kept my thumb on that, but it seems like it's getting less and less. It's harder and harder to find them. I know. I went to Kansas City, Kansas Community College, and I've heard recently they haven't been turning out very many students, and I don't know if lack of enrollment or they just aren't passing the national board or what have you.
Well, I think probably a lot of that to do is, I mean, it's just hard to find good help in any field these days.
Right.
Let alone a field like that where, I mean, it takes a special person to be able to do something like that.
Yeah.
So maybe that has something to do with that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think just culture and society is changing, and generationally, they're not looking to put that much commitment into it. I mean, like I said, it's a 2-year program. I mean, it's not terribly,
right.
You know, but it's just tough to find people that want to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And the time commitment and the hour, being on call and things like that. I just don't think they want to do it. They want a 9 to 5, weekends off.
Right.
So you're
get paid, 6 figures. It's like, it's not going to happen.
Right. So you are on call. I mean, what does your work schedule look like?
Probably a third of my nights I'm on call.
Okay.
Roughly. So I mean, that takes away. I mean, you're committed. You can't go do anything.
Yeah, you can't just take off out of town or something.
Yeah.
Can't have any drinks.
Nope.
So how many of those, like, say you're on call a third of those nights, how many, or do you actually get called to, you suppose?
It really depends, and it goes in cycles, This year's been very busy all over. All the funeral directors I know, from Omaha to Kansas City to, Des Moines, Central Nebraska have had a big year, and I just think that's numbers catching up. It's not necessarily COVID, although that's added some to it. And, some nights I don't get anything. And then, like last night, I got probably 3 hours of sleep. So I got 2 or 3 during the night.
Yeah, those suck.
Yeah,
do you have like a pager or something, or just your phone?
Just my phone. Yep. And then someone will take the, I don't personally take the initial contact phone call. Somebody I work with has the phones, and they'll call me.
Mm-hmm. What is the difference between, like, say you get a call? What's the difference between, like, a coroner and what you do? What exactly does a coroner do?
Coroner's going to determine the cause of death. If it's an unintended death at home that wasn't like hospice, they have to be contacted to confirm cause of death.
Okay.
If you're at home or a nursing home or a hospital, then those people will pronounce or determine time of death, and then it goes to the attending physician that they've been seeing to figure out the cause of death.
So if it's an obvious cause of death or something, an old person or something like that, do you go to the scene and actually gather the person, or what does that
Yes,
entail?
if it's home, nursing home, hospital.
Okay.
Those are typically, in Nebraska you have more where you go to the actual scene if it's an accident or things like that, but in this area, they'll generally be transported by EMS or someone else, so I won't necessarily have that initial contact.
Right.
It'll be more like once they've been released, then I take them into my care. And
Right. Was it something like, I mean, the first time, like, I saw a deceased person, like, it's kind of a shock for whatever reason, and I don't know really why that is. Like, for humans to see another deceased person, it's just like a weird, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a very strange feeling. Like, and the first time sick to your stomach, that's typical and all that stuff. Well, but did you deal with all of it?
I think it really depends on the scenario too, because like
right.
being an EMT or a firefighter and you've never seen somebody deceased before, and it's somebody you don't know and it's like a bad accident, or
right.
if it's somebody you do know and it's a bad accident, or if it's
right.
just somebody who has passed away, or I think it's very situational on how somebody's gonna be able to handle that situation, because there's varying a wide
absolutely.
variety of degrees of how good or bad that situation could be for a first time, the first time seeing someone who's deceased, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and I get that question a lot, like, how do you do it? I mean, I don't know if I could do that. I couldn't do that. And I say, well, you don't know until you're put in that situation, because
right.
I remember riding the bus from, I'd done basic training, and then I was at mortuary school in the Army, riding the bus to the morgue for the first time. I a little nervous, you know, and I think part of it is the first time you see any particular procedure done, whether it be embalming or in a autopsy suite, or it's gonna, if you're a normal human being, it's gonna be awkward and different and strange, and it takes time to get used to that. And there's times that I'll be doing my work in the back room, and not that I'm disrespectful, but at some point I disconnect from that's a person,
Oh, absolutely, you have to.
Yeah, and so at this, I think it is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah,
I've gotten out for a couple of years and came back,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of one of those, not to be touche about it, but it's one of those things I do because I can.
Yeah,
and I feel I do it well.
Yeah,
and but yeah, it's the first time you are introduced to any procedure that's invasive or like that with the human body, I think it's just natural to.
And you experienced that as well.
Oh yeah, I was I might come across like, hey, I can do that, now, but
right.
I mean, this is 23 years ago, and
sure,
in '93 is when I started doing that.
Right. So there's that side of it, the squeamish.
Oh, and there's
side of it,
I mean, I still get, I always think and say, I have seen it all, done it all, but I mean, every now and then you get something you're just like, whew.
Yeah.
Before we dive into that, there, like I said, there's a shitty squeamish side of it, but there's also would you say there's a rewarding side to it as well too? Because obviously, you deal with the families, what's like the most rewarding part of it?
Just when the whole logistics of a service or whatever they choose to do goes smoothly, and they didn't have to do any, you took that burden off them. And of course, since a lot of them, it's the first time they've been through it, they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so they try to take a lot of that on themselves, and just being able to make that smoother and easier. And obviously, making a good mental picture for them to have, making that loved one look as good as you can.
Right.
With the circumstances given. And, sometimes you can, bust your butt getting that done, and you think you did well, and they're not happy. But most of the time, if you do due diligence and take your time, and you can make them look good.
So, and I don't mean to be disrespectful in any way, shape, or form, but obviously a lot of what that entails is like makeup and stuff. So, like, I mean,
your cosmetics.
Can you do like makeup on a chick and just nail it? I'm saying like a live chick.
I don't know that I've ever tried. My daughter used to enjoy the fact that I could paint her nails.
Sure.
Yeah.
She thought that was cool when she was younger. I mean, not so much now, but yeah. And then that's the other thing people don't realize when you sit down and meet with them. They're like, "Well, who does the makeup?" I'm like, "I do." I mean, that's part of it, and they don't realize that is your education, is you learn how to do all that. About the only thing I don't do is like hairdos, like women's hair. We'll have a hairdresser come in and do that.
I suppose that's kind of tricky. I mean,
yeah, because I really have no.
Well, that, and like even for a normal hairdresser, I mean, they're used to somebody sitting like this when they're laying down. That's a whole nother. Yeah. Being a whole nother.
Is that something that's hard to? I mean, do you guys have like a normal? Do you have normal contacts that you usually use, or is it kind of just like? Usually,
a funeral home will have a couple.
Okay.
Gals, or they're generally women that are hairdressers. And then also you'll have families that say, "Hey, so and so did her hair. Can she come?" And I said, if she's up to it, then sure.
Right.
Obviously she knows how to do their hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that would be kind of a hard thing too, like being, if you've been, the hairdresser for this lady for, 15 years or whatever, and then you got to go do her hair for a funeral. That seems like that'd be kind of a...
Yeah, and I think
that's a
that
real
also
personal situation.
Kind of leads me back and makes me think, because sometimes it seems like the younger hairdressers or ones that haven't dealt with it. Yeah. The ones that have done it for years, it's no big deal. And I think that goes back to what I was saying, that you just kind of, you either can get used to it or you can't, but I think a lot of people just push it off like, oh, that's not for me. There's no way I could do that. But
I think that's just society's shift as a whole is like, we're just gonna pretend that doesn't exist anymore,
right?
You
and
know?
So I
think that's a big thing with what you're saying with numbers.
Driven cremation numbers way up too. Is we're leaning toward just the quick, easy fix. Yeah, you know, the painless. You know, the less pain, the better. And I think sometimes that's good, but I think it also slows down that grieving process sometimes. Yeah. By not dealing with the reality of what's happened. Right. Yeah. But everyone has their own way to deal with it, and we just try to accommodate, give you all your options, and not try to lead any way. But if you don't know all the options, then you can't pick what's best for you and your family, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, and that was like something that was, I guess, easy for our family, not having to deal with it. Was my dad knew, you know, before he passed away, he said that he wanted to be cremated. So that was like, you know, we didn't have to try and figure out, well, what's the best option to take here. You know, he had at least voiced his opinion, like, hey, I want to be cremated, you know, so that was that made it easier for us too. But that was, you know, something that I guess I didn't really think about beforehand, was like, you know, if you had to make that decision for your family member, you know.
And that's another thing. I'm not, I'll just put it out there. I'm not trying to get people to go out and do their pre-needs. At least write down your preferences and what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of helps, you know, and nobody really wants to do that. I don't care what age or, you know, but just get written down what you'd like. So when it happens, it's not a big burden and people aren't going, what the heck should I do?
Right. Yeah.
But at our age or any age, you know, I've been doing this over 20 years and I don't have, in my head, I've got all the things written down, but I need to put them on paper. So,
I think that's hard for most people, because then you're actually writing it down. You're facing absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and I think that was like, in my situation, that was like my dad kind of had that, you know, he got home from the hospital and was on hospice. So he like had time to like, he's like, I know, you know, he kind of had to face the music. He knew what was coming. So he
makes it real. Yeah.
Yeah. He just kind of sat there and, you know, the last month was pretty rough on him because he just sat there and thought about it all day long.
And he was probably usually a goer and doing stuff. And it's hard to be.
Yeah. So that was, you know, but that did at least give him the, you know, kind of the mindset to think about all that stuff. Like, how do I want to handle all this, you know? So, but you don't really get that option if you have like an accident or something, you know, somebody's in a car accident.
Tragedy.
Or something. So,
that's makes it tougher. Mm-hmm. I think, you know, grieving is tough either way, but without the time to say a proper goodbye, it just, I think it compounds that grief.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, like in situations I've experienced in, like, say in the fire department or whatever, you know, there's some really shitty call, and, you know, you've dealt with a lot more of them than I have, I'm sure. But there's always, like, the silver lining to it is, for whatever reason, something clicks in your head and you're just like, wow, life is actually short, you know, and that's part of our motto. Life short, live free.
Made me think about
But like, when you actually are faced with the mortality, your own mortality, and the life is going to, that it's fleeting, there's also something very freeing about that, almost. Like, when you realize that, and then it finally actually clicks in your head.
Because you can't stop it.
Right.
It's going to happen.
Now, is that something that you get? I mean, do you kind of live by that? Do you realize that more than most people, you think? Or is it just now almost a routine that it doesn't affect you that much that?
It could be that. I don't think it's really a conscious thought process, but I do know that I guess I just look at life differently and try to just, you know, live. Yeah. You know, I mean, there's a fine line between just being nutty and, you know, because I mean, but you're right. There's a lot of times I see something, I'm like, shh, that could have been you. I mean, that was you at one time, but, you know, so you try to be careful too, but at the same time, when it's your time, it's your time. I mean, I've seen some things I'm just like, why, you know, and there's no answer, and I can't, you know.
Yeah,
I can't figure it out.
And I was recently having a conversation about that with somebody, like, just trying to figure out the why to some instances, and you'll drive yourself nuts, because
Well, you can go down such a rabbit hole.
Right.
You know?
And see, I've been fortunate. I have not had a lot of close loss. I mean, you know, a friend here or two and some things, but I mean, other than grandparents, I haven't had a lot of that in my life, which is strange because a lot of funeral directors I know are in it because at one point in their life they had a significant loss that affected them, and they saw maybe how the profession helped them as a somebody, closely connected to it. But I'm just a different, it's either your family owned one, you had some kind of, and I do remember going to funerals of, when I was 7 or 6 of my brother's classmate passed of a liver disease or something when he was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was exposed to that. But I don't think that's really, mine is more just circumstance and situation. And I've been put, I do believe that's my calling, without getting too religious or anything like that.
Right.
But I am a believer, but I just think that's something I do because I can. And everyone's got their, different way they got into or why they do it. And I got a little bit off track there.
No, that's all right. Actually, it was something I was debating even asking you. But does being in your line of work affect your, belief in, the religious side of things at all? I mean, the things that you see, does that affect?
I don't know that my job necessarily dictates that. I think it's separate, but I also can see when a family's got faith, they react and act a little bit differently. And, I don't know. They're more accepting of it, and they know it's not a goodbye forever. They're going to...
Right. Yeah, it's a little easy. I feel like...
If you got some faith, it makes it easier.
Yeah,
whether that's right or wrong. Yeah,
the grieving process is much easier, I think.
They seem much more at ease.
Yeah, at least for our family, it seemed like it was much easier. No, because I've been to a few funerals where the family wasn't religious in any way.
Yeah,
and it was just like sayonara, and it was just kind of like
more grief ball-y.
Yeah, it was a lot different than. Because like at any family funerals that I've been at, because all of our family is very religious, and it's a lot of telling stories and happy thoughts and all this stuff versus, people at the funerals that I've been at that aren't religious. It's very, everyone's crying. It's all very sad. And, like it's just a whole different, it seems like a whole different, like environment,
I'll agree. You can feel the difference.
Yeah.
That's a conversation. I won't go down that rabbit hole this podcast, but I did want to talk about. I think life short and freedom and everything obviously has a little bit to do with religion and everything, and that's a rabbit hole I want to go down eventually with you guys. I think it'll make for an interesting conversation, but I don't really want to dive into it now. I agree. I think it does make the grieving process a little bit easier. Another thing that a lot of people use is humor. Is there? I'm sure there is. A lot of people in dark circumstances. Like you talk to a lot of veterans, and they have a really, really dark sense of humor. Yeah. And I for whatever reason, I identify with that dark sense of humor. I love that shit. I love really dark sense of humor movies and shit like that.
Yeah.
But is there do you use that to your advantage in your profession a little bit too, or are you more stoic and serious?
I think there's a time and place for all that. I mean, definitely. I haven't met too many people that have been in the business a while that don't have a good sense of humor, and we're always respectful. But I mean, I think if you didn't have a sense of humor, I don't know how long you could really do it.
Right.
And then sometimes that comes out, even meet with a family, I'll be like right now at the place I'm at, I'm mainly in the back room. I'm more of an embalmer than a funeral director. And that suits me just fine for where I'm at right now. I've been back and forth. I thought at one point I needed more family interaction. I think for me and most people I know, a balance of both is good. So I do meet a few families here and there, but you know, and there's funny situations when you're meeting with a family too. But you got to be so careful. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, because you definitely, and meeting with the family, you definitely want to be super respectful.
Yeah,
you know, so you
because if you say the wrong thing and set them off, you know, I don't know that I've ever had that problem, but I've known other funeral directors that, you know,
may have stepped on some toes. Or
things don't go well, you know.
Yeah.
Point of order: if I pass away early, you guys are free to laugh your ass off, and in whatever way, whether it's disrespectful. Say if I die on the toilet, feel free to laugh your ass off.
And that happens more than you think, unfortunately.
Right. Well, I can only imagine the carnage that would be happening.
I will say, and I think every person, like when they're thinking about their funeral, nobody wants everybody just to be bawling their eyes out for it to be a sad fest. No. I think when everybody thinks about their funeral, like my wishes, if I pass away, you know, I want it to be a.
Oh, you're going to.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean. But I want it to be a freaking a party.
Time.
Everybody cracking Budweisers and telling stories and laughing and joking, and you know, more of a and everybody says celebration of life. Mm-hmm. But it seems like a lot of those, like I've been to several in the past year, that no matter how much you want it to be, you want it to celebrate. It's just hard, man. Like
it is, because the human, you know, instinct is you're sad, you're gonna miss them.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I want mine to have. I mean, more about music. I love music, and I've got.
You got to be careful though. You got to be careful, because we had my uncle's was a few months back. Super patriotic dude, and they played a lot of patriotic songs. And man, when you mix those two things.
That's
like,
it's
dude,
almost
turn on the waterworks.
Like
waterworks.
Yeah,
right,
it's impossible. It's impossible.
That's a good point too. That I always think. You know, you can make it too pointed, and you know, but it should reflect that person's life, and you know, and I'm glad to see the trend toward. When you said, I was thinking celebration of life, and then when you said that, you know, because in my head, to me, it's kind of just but it, you know. I wish we had a better but that is a good term, you know?
Yeah.
But, and I kind of, you know, when I started this and doing this, it was a lot of cookie cutter, you know, the church with Amazing Grace, How Great Thou Art, and Rock of Ages, and Old Rugged Cross. And I like those too, but I just think people were doing that because that's what they knew. Not necessarily what they wanted or what the deceased wanted, but that's what you should do.
Yeah, those are the songs you played at the funeral.
Yeah,
and that's it. Yeah.
So I'd like to see the more, you know, and when I was meeting with more families, I'd say, hey, let's try to make this yours and his or her, whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, make it about them, what they, you know.
Right.
If they like tasty in and outs, get those lousy taverns, you know, or whatever you got.
Schooners, and what do they call them?
Charlie boys.
Charlie boys.
Oh,
hell yeah,
God.
Man.
Yeah.
Why'd you say that?
Should we go get them after this?
Yes. Damn it.
Want to party tonight, Johnson?
I'm down.
And that's
ready.
That's one thing I've been thinking for whatever reason in the last, just recently. It's so the way that humans react to death is so strange, because it literally is a part of life. Like every person that ever,
not literally.
No, it is
the end of life. It's not a part of.
But for everybody that deals with it,
the end of the book is still a part of the book.
Valid point. Valid point.
Absolutely.
The end is still a page in the book, ain't it?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's so strange that we react so much with sadness to something that is inevitable and happens to every single person in the history of the entire world and will forever and ever.
And a lot of things I took at mortuary school, I haven't. You know, it's one of those deals where you do it to learn it, pass the board. You're not going to use it, whatever. But I guess as a society, we are like more death fearing and push it away there, but there's other cultures that welcome it, you know.
Right.
Hispanics, I mean there's different, I can't, because it's been 20 some years, I can't remember them all, but we want a needy, you know, compartmentalize and neat and tidy and put it away, and then, you know, and don't see the body, you know, don't do that. And a lot of other ones are just like, hey, it's part of us. And that's one thing I've learned. I've worked at a few funeral homes, but the one I'm at currently deals with a lot more ethnic diversity. So it's been good for me because I'm like, hey, I've never had this type of service or seen this one, or, there's a lot of diversity in Sioux City that I don't think I would have really known about.
Yeah. And that's a good point, is like a lot of other cultures, they'll carry the deceased around, and kind of show them off, and they'll cover them in flowers, and they'll, as they're walked through town and things like that.
Yeah, versus, I've had
take them to Dooskies.
They like parade them through town, like
prop me up beside the jukebox,
right? They'll basically like put them on like a stretcher, for lack of a better term, and cover them in flowers and stuff, and parade them through town and carry them through town, and the whole town will kind of wave.
Yeah,
and
I've had situations at house where I'm ready to carry them out of the bedroom. They're like, no, we do that,
Yeah, I certainly think that our American society has a lot to learn from others about healthy ways to deal with death. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think
it's very, again, that's kind of, it's very situational.
I was going to say, I don't think there's a right and wrong. It's whatever works for you, and it's so varied. I do think I've seen people come back later and say, oh, we didn't see so-and-so. We really wish we would have now. And so I just try to say, hey, it isn't either burial or cremation. You can do a full traditional service and then cremate. So
right.
I don't look at myself as a salesman, or I'm not trying to make money. I'm just giving you all the options, so you're not at Walmart 2 months from now and say, oh, well, they told me I could do this, and you say, I didn't know about that.
Right.
And then you're mad, I just give you all the options and let you choose what's best for you.
Yeah.
And everyone's different.
Yeah, and I think it's very situational with, like you said,
how it goes down.
Yeah, and I think, especially on the grieving part, like you're talking about, Sam, is, we have a lot to learn from other cultures, but generally, it's a lot easier grieving. The grieving process is much easier when it's an elderly person, and it was a planned, like kind of, you knew what was coming, and it wasn't such a surprise. Whereas if it's a younger person, a lot of times that grieving process is a lot harder when it is a surprise or a younger person.
Tragedy. Yeah. Unexpected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I agree, but this is just as a comedy in my head, is I'll go to make a removal or whatever, and make first contact with that family and the deceased, and they'll say, oh, gosh, we just weren't expecting this. And I'm thinking, she's 96.
Right.
What did you think? But they weren't ready for that. I mean, she'd been healthy and mowing her yard or whatever, living at home, and they didn't think it was coming. And it's like, well,
yeah. And
so some of us get to enjoy their lives that long, and yeah.
What is the way you want to go? You want to be cremated, or what are you?
Well, that's a good question. I thought you were going to ask me something else. I don't know. I've never wanted to be buried. If I could afford an above ground mausoleum, that's the way I would go.
Really?
Yeah. I like, they can be very artistic and very beautiful. And, I do like to walk around an old cemetery and just read markers and things like that. I like the angels and the poetry and the words. And, that's very, romantic to me, I guess. But I don't just want to, I don't know. So
yeah, stick them in the ground. Here's my name, birth and death
then I
date,
I like kind of the mobility of cremation. Like, since we, all enjoy weapons and guns, and I'd like to be reloaded in a couple things, you know?
Oh, that's a good idea. I like that.
I've always, I thought I was going to break the trend with that, but it's out there already. Right. Somebody beat me to it.
That's a cool idea.
Right, but you'd be reload, your ashes in a little, I don't know, keychain, neck, whatever your thing is, or I like the scattering effect of cremains and just being a kind of out there free in your favorite place. And
and like a lot of people, a lot of things that I've seen, like at for like drag racers and stuff, they'll pack ashes in the parachute. So like when their car, they'll have, like their son or, one of their family members will run the car down the drag strip and then pull the parachute, and the parachute, releases the ashes and stuff on the drag strip. And
there's a million options out there. I've seen glass blowers. They'll take little swirls of the cremains and then some colors, and then blow it into an orb, and you can shoot a light under. I mean, you know, you could be made into diamonds, precious gems. I mean,
cardboard box and a wooden cross.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, see that does to me. That's
and that's cool too. Like the green burials are really not around here, but it'll be here.
So and that's something that our vaults required around here.
Depends on the cemetery.
No, what is the reasoning for that? I've never understood that.
Here's the funeral director in me. It maintains the integrity of the casket when equipment's driven over it or whatever. But then you're gonna, you know, because if you're in a wooden casket and a backhoe drives over there,
right,
it's gonna push down.
Yeah,
and it's gonna. And then I get people. I don't care. Right. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust.
Yeah,
you know. So that's why I never try to sell, because it's not my job. You know.
Yeah.
And I might get crucified by the industry, but you know, it's like I'm not there to, you know.
Try and make as much money for the funeral home as I can. Right. I'm here to make what the family wants.
I'll make that money a different way by doing my craft the way it should be done, and things like that. And so that's what it is. And also, it leaves a big sinkhole.
I guess I never.
That's probably from the cemetery point of view. That's probably more.
Yeah, just having to deal with.
You know, some of your smaller country, and there's little family cemeteries out there that don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
But then
can you legally, can you be buried in your own backyard?
Yeah.
It has to, check your local laws, gentlemen, but it has to be designated as a cemetery.
Oh, really?
So you could probably do that.
You did say legally, didn't you?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's kind of the old don't ask, don't tell, you know, but you're going to, a funeral director has to be there for final disposition, and final disposition is burial, cremation.
So what about
So if once you're cremated, you can do pretty much what you want.
Right.
But if it's on public land, you have to get permission. And
I was gonna say with like cremains, you can pretty much, you know, if you want to bury, you know, like the urn or whatever in your backyard or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally.
But yeah, like a full casket burial. That's.
See the human body. Yeah. Without getting too in depth, the human body is actual property that has to have a chain of command that is in charge, and a funeral director has to be there from.
Whose property is it?
Mortuary law was a long time ago, but somebody has to be exactly whatever that you have to be in charge of that body.
See, and that's what I was going to ask.
But once you're cremated, then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Or once you're in the ground, that's it. So that's why the funeral director stays around till the end of the burial.
So, say you're with a family member, in a country house, they pass away. What are you required to do? Do you got to like call somebody and say, "Hey, this person died"?
If it's not a hospice or you have to have a law enforcement come and they pronounce.
Do they have to take them somewhere?
No, I can go and.
So like say that
then I take responsibility of that.
Right, but what
property.
What I'm saying is that person is deceased. Do you have to take them somewhere? Can they stay in the house and then take them out back in the yard and bury them, or do they got to go from there?
Yeah, I guess
this is probably not a question you get asked very much, but I'm just curious. I'm curious
if their backyard has been established as a human cemetery.
How do you go about that? Just paperwork?
Yeah, I think go through the deed or assessor. I don't know.
Interesting. Interesting.
I can look that up and get. That's my homework.
Yeah, because like if I tip over at my house when I'm 70, you know, can somebody just come out with a backhoe?
Well, that's what's funny is I've been running into this a lot. A friend of mine that I know, he says the same thing. Well, just put me on my. I said I can't do that. It's you have to go. No, just do it. And I'm like no. So there's and there's stipulations and things put into place. So to stop if a spouse,
from murdering their husband and saying he died naturally and I buried him in the backyard.
Living with him in the house for 14 years or something like that. I don't want to come there.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, that'd be kind of exciting. Something interesting.
That seems to be something that I have seen a lot more frequently, or I guess just read about it a lot more.
Yeah, they'll keep the loved one in the house.
Yeah, for like
Social Security check.
Yeah, mother. Yeah,
if like
a parent.
Like what kind of fucked up person? Like how can you live with that in your house for that
last
long?
year in
well,
Omaha,
once it gets to a certain stage, it stops stinking.
Yeah,
How long is that though?
Probably a month.
I'd say you're gonna have to deal with some serious things.
Well, and that's
for a
like
while.
there was one in Omaha that a son was living with his mom just last year. They found the mom had been deceased for
Didn't we talk about that?
for months, like 9 months or something. He was collecting her Social Security. He had just closed the door to her bedroom and like duct taped the gaps on the door to the bedroom so he didn't have to smell it, and was just collecting her Social Security checks that were coming
such
in
a
the mail.
loving son.
Right?
Box, you haven't said anything for a long time. You got any thoughts on the subject, or you're
Not
just
really.
taking it all in?
Yeah, I just kind of listen.
Yeah.
Not much to say.
Well, I wanted to ask you before we dived into our next little and this, I don't know if this is I don't mean for this to be disrespectful in any way. So, but like, I mean, obviously you've dealt with some, I don't even know how to describe it.
Nasty shit.
Nasty shit. Like what is like?
Let's not beat around the bush here. There's some gross shit that goes
No, and
on.
anybody still listening at this point, you know, I'm sure
Yeah.
they'll probably be fine with it. But
Yeah.
what's your craziest, some of the craziest stories that you've ever had to deal with? Or even, do you even want to talk about it?
No, I don't have a problem talking with it. I'm just trying to think, because I'm trying to think of the last time I said I have seen everything,
Well,
and there's this.
There's one story that I remember you telling us out at the hangout, was you had like a younger intern, with you.
That's it's sticking out in my head.
And
too.
you said that was a pretty,
it was pretty vile.
yeah, a pretty rough one.
Yeah, just a situation. Just where he passed in the house. It's in a tight, small bathroom, and what amazes me is I'm not Betty Homemaker, and my home gets, it gets a little cluttery. I got to pick up now and then, but some of the houses you go into, it's literally like, how do you live like this?
Yeah.
Like, were you raised like that and you don't know any better? And I mean, everyone, and I've been in some of the nicest houses and places, and then sometimes I'm just like, whew,
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so anyway.
I wouldn't let animals live in this house, let alone
right.
have a
My
human
dog
live in
would
it.
not. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting just to see how people live, and decomp is a thing. I mean, you got to be prepared for that,
Right.
and I've seen a lot, and most of the time it's not an issue.
Yeah.
But every now and then I get one, I'm just like, whew.
Yeah.
It's all I can do to.
Like what? You don't have to sugarcoat it. All our listeners
feel
are pretty
like-
well.
I feel like at a point, do you get past kind of like the gag factor of it?
Yeah, and I thought so until that. And after 20 some years doing it, actually it's been longer than that. That's just how long I've been licensed. I had the Army before that, and intern and apprentice. But yeah, every now and then one will just get you the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it's just the combination of all the senses. I'll put it that way. Vision. What you're seeing, what you're smelling, what you're feeling.
Right.
I mean, it can be where you're just like, just don't know. And then the worst, in my head, all I get was, I'll just look at whoever I'm working with, and they're probably dealing with the same thing, and I just say, why do we do this?
Right.
Because we can,
Right, yeah.
It's all I can come up with sometimes,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do like my job. I don't see myself doing anything else. Probably if I had a dream job, it'd be a forensic detective or pathologist. I enjoyed my time in the morgue, figuring cause of death and seeing the different injuries and things that happen inside the human body. But at that point when I was getting out of the Army and trying to just get a job, I was 27. I wanted to just live, not out of a Foot Locker or a barracks room. I wanted, I was ready to have a house and dog and and start life, So I didn't go pursue that, and I don't know that I would now, just because I'm 50. But so I do enjoy what I'm doing, and that's probably what I'm going to end up doing for the rest of my working career.
Yeah. Sure.
But I did enjoy that, like figuring out due to rigor or how dehydrated the eyes were, how long they'd been there, what's the temperature in the house, why does it smell like gas? Why is there a pile? Why is there a pile of clothes with gas by the heater? Someone was trying to hope that would ignite the house, and I miss those kind of things because I don't go to the scene too much anymore. But that if people say, well, what would you do if you weren't doing this? That would be it.
Yeah.
So somebody tips over, say like some middle-aged person just tips over. They show up in your morgue. Like, how do you start? Like, how do you start figuring out why they died?
Well, you're going to do a visual inspection. I mean, just a visual, look them over, any signs of trauma, anything that stands out. Is there little red dots in their eyes from being strangled called petechia or
really?
Yeah. I mean, just looking for ligature marks, or you're going to do a good visual inspection of the body first before you cut into it. A lot of times, if they suspect some type of gunshot or a bullet or something, they'll X-ray the body. I mean, a knife tip can break off inside,
right?
And so sometimes they get stuck in the skull or wherever they enter the body. The knife, the tip will break off, and you can see that with an X-ray. But you're going to already know that, you're going to see an incision or something
right, yeah,
around that area. But then you go with the internal autopsy.
I guess, like, I don't know how far we want to dive into this rap, because I'm like seriously intrigued.
Where's that whiskey?
Right? Oh, you want some more? We got plenty of it. Actually, I should have some more.
We got to move to Pendleton.
Okay,
if that's the case,
some.
Everybody's gone.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, grab some.
I might have to.
So, without sounding crude, like, how does the embalming process work? Like, I mean, is it just like a fucking shovel and
it's see, that's the thing too. I think that's a problem
a
too.
Shovel?
What?
Is people are afraid of that because they don't know what it is, and so then they'll opt for cremations. They're like, I don't want you, because they picture an autopsy. The embalming is very non-invasive. I mean,
really?
Yeah, it's a 1-inch incision.
No shit.
Yeah.
I thought it was like just get everything out. And
nothing comes. No, that's autopsy. They'll take everything out.
No, the embalming it's more of like it's almost. Would you consider it more of like a blood transfusion?
Yes.
It's kind of like flushing.
It's a coolant flush.
Yeah.
In a vehicle.
No shit.
Yeah. So it's like you'd basically like get an IV on like a major artery, right? And then just kind of do like a flush where you're putting the embalming fluid in and removing the blood, right?
Yeah, we don't drain or suck or none of that. All you do is you find an artery and a vein that are next to each other, which they always run in tandem anyway. Generally, it's going to be here.
Yep.
A lot of times I'll do a femoral. Yep.
Yeah.
And so you just manipulate and isolate those vessels, and I put 2 strings around each one so I can manipulate them better, and then you just make a little incision in the artery, and then you run a hooked needle called a cannula that's hooked up to a machine that pumps fluid in. And so you pump fluid in the arteries, because the arteries take everything from the heart to the tissues to the capillaries. Then it switches to vein, goes back to the heart. So, and a lot of times I'll just run it in a closed system. I'll just push it in the artery just to make sure I got good distribution of fluid, because you can tell with the dye. And then once I know that's good, then I'll just make a little incision in the vein, and it'll come out there.
Huh.
And so you're fixing the tissue. You ever dissect something in biology, like a frog or grass? It feels rubbery, plasticky. You're just basically taking those proteins and muscles, using formaldehyde or another fixing agent to change them so they won't go bad. They won't rot.
See, I was always under the impression that embalming entailed taking everything out.
And toilet paper and stuff and wrapping them all up.
No. See,
no mummification.
Shoving them full of stuff and paper towels and stuff. And
No.
Yeah, no, it's pretty basic. Yeah.
Wow.
So now, if we get an autopsy body, there's a special. Then things are different. Then all that vascular system has been disrupted, and then you have to inject like 6 points instead of generally. If embalming goes well, it's just one incision. Now, sometimes if it doesn't work well, you have to use other points to get.
Why would it work well? They don't have a very good system, or?
Right? Sclerotic. If they got hardened arteries, it won't get everywhere, and you can tell where it's going and where it's not. And then wherever it's not, then you raise something there. You raise that artery to get fluid to where it's not getting it.
And you said there's a dye in the fluid that helps you.
Yep.
Helps you tell if it's been
because the thing
distributed properly.
The reason we are the color we are, pink like that, is because that's blood in the capillaries. So when there's not that, then that's why you're pale.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I can get fluid in there with dye and dye those tissues, it looks.
So it comes back to that pink color versus being white. Yeah.
Yep.
So how long does that process take? Just fluid.
About an hour and a half. Probably an hour for arterial embalming. Then we do treat the cavity. We do treat the organs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly is?
That's really interesting because it's like.
Well, that's what the thing. Everyone, I don't understand how people will want to walk in and give the funeral home $1,000, whatever your embalming fee is, $600 to $1,000 for something they don't even know what it is.
Right?
Like, are you going to go buy a car if you don't know if it runs, or know?
Right.
It's because they don't want to know, dude.
Well, but I think some people don't. Like my mom would not want to. She knows because I've made her listen.
Yeah.
But some people don't. But I think a lot of people would be okay because that isn't that bad. Like what you picture in your head was way worse than what I'm actually doing.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. And it's interesting that that process is that simple and it makes a huge difference because like the body turns white really quickly.
Yeah, because it drains out of those.
Yeah, I mean it's like
now
really fast. It's like within probably 15 minutes, you can really start noticing like a very white and almost yellowish pale color.
Yeah, and
so like to be able, I guess I didn't, I never thought of it about that red, the dye bringing the pink color back to the tissue, but I knew that it kind of made sure that it wasn't decomposing and stuff, but I guess I didn't think about the color. Yeah. Bringing the color back to the skin, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Huh. I guess that's interesting. What exactly is... This is a two-part question. Number one, what exactly is embalming fluid?
The main active ingredient is formaldehyde.
Number two, does anyone ever smoke?
I knew that was where it was going.
Have you heard of this before?
I have heard of it. I have not.
No shit.
I have not done it.
Well, God, I hope not.
No, I mean something like that. Yeah, I'm not going to speak too much on. I have not. I knew someone even before I was in doing this that I met in Lawrence, Kansas. So that might kind of explain things. But like I said, I swear I have no personal knowledge, but what they told me is they lost like 2 days. They're just like, I go, what did that do to you? And they're like, I don't know what happened for 2 days.
Somebody told me the same thing. They just completely lost track of time. And
I just want to say it was before I was even in it. I was just going to school there. I didn't supply anything to anyone ever. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea, but this kid just said, I lost a couple of days. I was
can you hook
is that
me
what you
up,
wanted? Yeah, and that's the thing is I think really what those people, the problem with the fluids I use is you got the active ingredient might be formaldehyde, but there's lanolins, there's dyes, there's
all
it's
kinds
not
of
pure.
other shit in there.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, no, why would you do that?
All right.
Well, that's not always most of the time the people that would do something like that don't really. I mean, they're not thinking ahead.
Right.
Don't really
this,
fucking care.
This guy didn't have a whole lot going on. Less than I.
Oh boy.
I will definitely say the Cedar Ridge is much better.
Yeah,
than
I'm
Pendleton.
already like, this is like, it tastes like
You think?
Everclear compared.
You
Yeah,
think?
yeah.
I don't think it's that much different.
I do.
It's similar.
This has a better nose to it.
There's a lot more like
It's just like alcohol.
yeah. There's a lot more like throat heat to
Am
the
I
Pendleton.
the only one that noticed my tongue was getting tingly from that last whiskey?
No, I never noticed that. That must just be a you thing.
Huh. Wonder what caused that.
I
I don't notice that much difference between this.
The
and
Pendleton,
Cedar
I'm
Ridge.
getting a lot more like, you feel like almost like the heartburn. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of that, or a lot more of that with the Pendleton. Than the
So
Cedar
you guys
Ridge.
think Cedar Ridge is
Cedar
above?
Ridge definitely takes number 3 for
Box,
sure.
what are your thoughts?
I think the flavor is better too.
I don't know. It's neck and neck.
We just need to have
It's
a
real
segment.
close.
We just need to have a segment. Box, what are your thoughts? Because I ask him like 3 or 4
yeah.
times every podcast.
And
I
I'm
don't
always
know.
like,
I'm just listening.
Nah.
Not
I
much,
don't know.
And every now, the reason I do that is every now and then he has something really insightful and
He does,
and
yeah.
interesting. To
Well,
say.
like just earlier when
It
he
is
said
the quietest I've seen him, though.
Yeah.
well,
I don't know what it is. Like when we get into a podcast, he just all of a sudden like shuts off.
it's on certain subjects.
Well,
And I
yeah,
knew-
that
you
is
think I
true.
shut off? I think I turn on when I get on the podcast.
I knew ahead of time that this was going to be a subject that he wouldn't
Yeah, I
have a
guess-
whole ton.
yeah,
of
you're
input
right.
on.
It
Well,
is-
I don't
it is
have any
subject
idea what we're
stated.
talking about, then I typically don't
Yeah.
talk about it.
We're talking about.
So before we take a break really quick, I know have you had significant losses lately?
well,
With
Or should I say
Uncle
when?
Cliff.
You had an uncle.
Or your uncle. yeah.
I aunt and uncle in the last 6 months. Yeah, well, but I mean, it was kind of they weren't sudden or anything like that. But
They weren't like elderly either. It wasn't like
the one was a little bit. She was in her 70s. The other one was they were both in their 70s. I guess
Yeah,
I was closer to my uncle.
Okay.
It wasn't like a.
Is that would be your dad's brother?
No, it was actually my mom's
Brother.
But dad was really close to him. He was a Vietnam vet. Did a lot of
Mom's brother-in-law.
what did I say?
Oh,
Brother.
Oh yeah, mom's brother-in-law.
Yeah.
He was a Vietnam vet. Did a lot for that people coming back, vets coming back,
Right.
and stuff. He
Oh,
was,
that's
he was
awesome.
big into that. He was big into the the
Legion.
Legion. Yep. And that was one they played. They played all the
Patriotic songs and-
It started the freaking thing started with "God Bless America." I'm sorry, dude. You can't freaking stand
Right.
there
Right.
playing "God Bless America"
Oh,
after
hey,
something like that happened
you
and
know,
not bawl your freaking eyes on. man.
I'm very patriotic. Like, I have been like since I was 6. That was 76 when I was 6, so that was a bicentennial, and I've been red, white, and blue ever since. And and like the military thing, that was not a plan.
Right.
I'm way off track here, but my brother was in, my dad was in. Just 2 weeks ago, I went down, and my nephew was commissioned as a lieutenant in the Army.
Oh wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, so I mean that's some cool stuff, and And when I tell people, they always want to say thank you, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad what I did, and but I don't necessarily say I'm a veteran,
Right.
because I think that has a connotation of war and you did something above and beyond, which I did go in, whatever, but I'm former military, I'm not chewing you out or anything, but I'm just saying, like, when the Musketeers or something, like, hey, have the veterans stand up, I'm a little hesitant. Because,
Yeah, but that's not what it's for. Well, what that is meaning is you signed your name on the line, and
blank check.
you knew that whatever that entailed. So that's why.
Right.
Because and guys like me, we want to, like, I have a lot of veteran friends, and sometimes
Yeah,
I
you
tell
got
them,
some real heroes, though.
I tell them thank you just because it messes with them and they don't like it, but also because I am genuinely thankful. Like I am genuinely
that's
thankful
kinda
that
like-
people sign their names on that line.
for people like us who weren't in the military, and being very patriotic, when we say thank you, it is a
Genuine.
a very genuine thank you for what you do, because we're being patriotic people. We're very appreciative. We understand the sacrifices that people have to make, and whether it's not even sacrifice of life or limb, it's sacrifice of your time and moving around the country, and
True.
doing all the things that you need to do
Yeah.
to to be supportive of our country, and that's I think that's why, like, non-veterans who are very patriotic, they generally have a very genuine thank you. For anybody who signed in.
Yeah, we talked about this way back when Jimmy was on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he hates it.
So we all got to text him when we're done with the podcast.
Oh, James?
Yeah,
I remember that one.
Say thank you. We all got to text him and say thank you.
Yeah, because he hates that.
Does he?
Yeah.
So we're about an hour.
I'm gonna text him right now.
Hour 10, hour 15. Do we want to keep on rolling, or do we want to phase out, or what do you?
I think Mike was hitting at a break.
Mike, you want to?
You caught it. Yeah, I need to regroup a bit.
All right, we'll hit the pause button. We'll fire up the old heater. Take a urination break, and we'll be right back. It'll be like 3 seconds, like if you're listening.
For
I
you,
don't know if
for
it'll
you
be
at home.
3 seconds.
Yep. All right, guys, we're back. We're gonna finish up the mortuary part of our podcast. We just kind of wanted to let Mike finish up with a few thoughts on the profession as a whole and how to get more people into it. Maybe is.
So initially what I'm thinking is, well, it's not this and not. Don't tell them the things it isn't and drive them away.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's got to, a lot of people see suits and Cadillacs. I don't own a Cadillac. I drive one. I play one on TV, whatever. But there is a big shortage. There's definitely a need. I know a lot of funeral homes looking for help. The way the population is growing and, the way things are going is going to be a big need for it.
Yeah.
And I know where I work, we could use a couple more probably. And they're just not out there. So if you have any interest at all, maybe get with your local funeral home and say, hey, I want to explore this, and if you're worried about getting broke in hard and fast, just say, hey, just bring me on slow and easy.
That's what she said.
I just let myself open for that one.
Yeah, you did.
Just say, look, I just want to check it out,
Well, and you were saying, like, even just, hey, job shadow for a day, just go in and see what it's about,
Right.
See if that's something you would be interested in.
That's a good thing to do, because I knew people when I went to school got there and they'd never worked at a funeral home before, and it was just like too much, and they were overwhelmed and they weren't quite sure what it really was all about. So it is good to, get your feet wet and check it out. But if you're interested, like I said, get in touch with someone and see if it might be something you want to do. And I mean, it's you can make a comfortable living. I don't know that you'll get super duper rich, but right. I mean, there's opportunities if you start your own place and get going. And like I said, it's a comfortable living and a good, respectable job.
Yeah, and
I'm proud of what I do there. I am.
Yeah, and there's so much. We were talking about there's so much job security in that. People are always dying, so there's always that good job security. And in a time like now where a lot of people don't, are
unsure of
what work is and what how they can continue to make a living during even something like this, that's a very good way to do it.
And there's a lot of capacities you can work at a funeral home. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do the nitty gritty backroom stuff. You can meet with families, if you find the right place, find the right mixture for you. Yeah.
And that's something that, I know a lot of people who when I was in college were going for like event planning. They want to like they have this grand idea of setting up concerts and, doing all this stuff. Well, that's, this is kind of a more hometown style of that, you're kind of event planning,
right.
Meeting with families and figuring out the details of certain things and,
Yeah. My daughter a few years ago was saying, well, I want to do wedding planning, and I said, well, that's pretty much what I do. And she goes, no. I said, yeah, clergy, venue, food, music. You got a year and a half to do it. I got 4 days.
Right, and you're making making a pamphlet.
I got to make the book, folders, thank you.
Right,
yeah,
everything. So I mean,
there's a lot to be done, and if you're interested, check it out.
Yeah.
So there's big oil, there's big tobacco. This is a subject we're going to talk about in the next few podcasts. Is probably like cars running on water and air.
Mm-hmm.
you suppose Big Mortuary is donating, is trying to kill like the drugs that are making people live longer? You know, are they donating against them?
They're they're big time against the pharmaceutical companies.
Well, but the thing is, it's inevitable. I mean, you can.
Yeah,
it just prolongs it, maybe.
Right.
And there's times I think I'll be rolling one out of the hospital. I'm like, we spend so much time and money just trying to avoid what's going to happen. You're going to end up down here. Mm-hmm. I don't care what you do.
Yep.
So,
well, this has been one of my, I think one of the most interesting topics that we've ever had on this podcast. I think.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
I don't know. There was that one time we talked about butthole sunning.
We never did get her on, did we?
No.
See if you can find her, Box. Contact her and see if we can get her on. That was Are you into that, Mike? Did you hear that podcast?
No, I did not. Butthole sunning?
Yeah. They're people that literally.
That's what it sounds like.
That's exactly like it sounds.
No, it's different from bleaching.
Oh no, it'd be the other one, opposite.
So they basically are out sun tanning with their
spreading their cheeks,
letting it all hang out,
exposed. Yeah. And it was a very good way to absorb a lot of vitamin D and get all the benefits, of sunshine.
I tried it one time, burnt my buttholes. The most miserable 1.5 weeks of my life. It was terrible.
The sunburn was awful.
Yeah, it's hard to sit
and then
down.
I ate Taco Bell like 3 days later. Woo boy, wish I didn't do that. So. We're gonna touch on one more subject. That's
as long as we're not touching on more buttholes.
Did we want to do the whiskey first?
2 more subjects. Box wanted
You're just really putting it off, aren't you?
Box wanted to touch on the whiskey. Whether he thinks Cedar Ridge is above.
It's not me. That's the rules of the show, man.
Yeah,
you can't just drink it and not.
Yeah, you're right.
It.
You're right. Well, let's take a vote. Mike is an honorary.
So I think my vote should be half a vote.
No, you definitely.
You get a full vote.
I get a full one.
You get a full vote. So who thinks? What was
Pendleton?
Who thinks Pendleton should stay as number 3
No.
on the podium?
No.
And does anybody Box? What do you think? Are you torn?
I am torn, and I
I
want to say no just because I bought the other one or the Cedar Ridge and it was pretty expensive, but I really can't decide.
Box is Natalie and Bruglia. You remember that?
No,
I'm torn.
I knew the name, but I couldn't remember the song. Thank you.
To me, the thing that pushes the Cedar Ridge ahead of Pendleton is it's just a touch smoother. I think the flavors are pretty similar. But I think that the Cedar Ridge is a little bit smoother. This has a little bit more of like the burn. You get like a little bit of the heartburn type.
Just an alcohol.
Yeah. And I think that the Cedar Ridge is just a touch smoother that puts it over top of the Pendleton.
What do you think, Sam?
I think it was pretty close. I could go either way. Wait, time out. I didn't say that.
Bet you could.
Luckily, I can edit this, fuckers.
So we need another step to the podium, is what I'm hearing.
No. I think Cedar Ridge is going to take number 3.
I think so for sure.
Maybe we should. Now, you think we should? You think it's take Makers?
I don't know.
I think I need to try the Makers.
I think yeah.
Well, grab it, Mike. We're welcome to try it. It's not like we don't have like 47 bottles of whiskey up there.
Right.
Just swivel that fucking thing out of the way. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
He's not used to all the wires and the shit.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
It is like being wrapped up in an octopus around here. If you got to get up and move, you got a lot of shit to move. And
it's a hell of a lot better than the freaking last one,
right?
Our last studio.
Yeah.
Remember when Johnson knocked over the entire recorder?
Shut the hell up.
We lost the entire episode 36.
Shut up.
Where was the old studio?
It was in Shyworks in the office.
Oh, gotcha.
There. Yeah.
Oh shit! I was like, boy, take a trip without leaving the farm.
He just pulled a Sam.
He was talking. He couldn't focus.
Wildwood Weed.
Wasn't
that the song, Mike? Wildwood Weed. Take a trip without leaving the farm.
Yeah,
Wildwood Weed.
We were playing poker one night, and Johnson, you were never at my old house in Kingsley, were you?
No.
Right north of the community building there.
Yeah.
That little tiny one. We were playing poker there one night.
Do you want to try that?
I was drinking. What was I drinking? Crown and Coke. That's what it was. And this was like later. This was probably 11 o'clock. We'd been playing since 7. I was feeling fantastic. And we're just finishing up the game. We're going to go to Dusky's there in the next hour or so. And I'm mixing another Crown and Coke. And I confused the 2 bottles. And so I poured like this much Coke in my big ass glass, my Dixie cup. Poured like this much Coke. And then I topped it off with the rest of the shit. And there was like 4 or 5 other guys that just watching me. Like, nobody said shit until I was all done. I start mixing it, and I take a sip. I'm like, ugh. Sam, you realize what you just did? I ended up taking my dog. I ended up taking my dog to the bar that night. It was a fun night. It was a fun night. But I was watching Mike when he did that too. He's like talking, glug 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 glug. Oh shit.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's Mike. Did you think that?
Let me see.
You think that could possibly take it? If you think so, I'll try it as well. But I don't know if it's not.
That Maker's Mark's pretty damn
pretty
good. Ain't it?
Pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking smooth. And 1792. That's
1792 is better than
That's the
Maker's
bar,
Mark.
huh?
That's got a pretty good. I personally think that has a pretty good margin over Maker's Mark.
Good shit. All right, we'll take Mike's word for it. We'll leave Maker's Mark as number 2, and we'll move on to Bomb in Nashville. Sound good?
Bomb in Nashville.
So Cedar Ridge is number 3 now.
Yep.
Apparently,
Cedar Ridge
and
is number
Maker's
3.
Mark 2 and 1792 is number 1.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why does it call it 1792 anyways?
Good question.
We should research
Good
that.
question, Aguado.
So tell me about this bombing.
So, and this really hasn't been making. I mean,
No, it
news-wise, like I was
Figure.
Really?
I was watching.
I've seen it everywhere.
It's been on Facebook. It hasn't been on like the news.
Well, I don't watch the morning news.
Even
Who
on
does?
Christmas Day, I'm watching it. There was a terrorist bombing on Christmas Day in the middle of downtown Nashville, and like Christmas was relatively quiet as far as news on this thing.
Sure.
Yep.
Because nobody was killed. There's 3 people injured. But the really fucking strange thing about this, it's so strange, was there was an RV sitting there
Very coincidental.
on I don't remember what street it was on, in front of an AT&T building. There was people reported gunshots in the morning. It was like 5:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
This woke them up, and which is not super unusual for downtown Nashville, I guess. You know, it's not a super crime-ridden town, but it happens occasionally.
And another note that it wasn't just an AT&T building; it was a large building that had a lot of offices in it. AT&T was just one of the offices located in it, because I think it was like a 20-story building or something. It was it was a tall building that had a lot of office suites in it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
So, like 5:30, gunshots. The police were called. Police came to the scene, and at that point they discovered this RV. It was an older RV, probably I don't know, 90s, late 90s. It wasn't
your typical little like Winnebago.
Yep. And it started counting. It started blaring. This is a bomb. You have 15 minutes to evacuate.
Yeah.
Which in and of itself is strange as shit.
And it was
I don't think it even stated it was a bomb, though. It just said, everyone please evacuate. I don't think it warned that it was a bomb.
The news article that I was reading did say that it was a bomb. So this is a bomb, please evacuate.
From the audio that I heard, I feel like the audio that I heard it was just like, evacuate the area immediately. You know, please everyone evacuate the area immediately. And it was like an autonomous voice, you know, it was like robotic, a computer generated voice.
The gist of it is they were trying to
reduce casualties. They wanted no casualties.
Yeah. Which is suspicious.
Right, because if you're going to do that, you want to take people out.
Yeah.
Not me, but that's your
in a terroristic attack, that's what you would, is trying to create as much casualties.
Which tells us it's not a terrorist attack.
Right.
I mean, obviously.
Because, I mean, you think about just like the Boston bombing, you know, it was kind of it was a vehicular IED type of.
It was in a backpack, I thought.
Was it? It might have been.
Yeah, it was a pressure cooker.
Pressure cooker, yeah.
And not crock, but
pressure
cookers, thanks.
Yeah, but that was, you know, and that's anytime things like that happen, it generally seems to be
mass.
As many casualties as we can get. It seems to be kind of the.
So, and this is, I don't know, has this ever happened before? Like, who the hell makes a big ass bomb and tells people to move to get out of the way? I mean, that's just strange, in itself.
Fishy. So it was clearly an infrastructure attack, right?
Whatever they were trying to, if he was trying to kill himself, he wouldn't have done it in downtown Nashville.
Yeah,
he just would have went out in the freaking nowhere.
Yeah,
and done it. So he was obviously attacking whatever was at that location.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I listened to an interview with a person that lived right across the street from it. They took heed and got the hell out of there.
Mm-hmm.
The RV said they had 15 minutes. They left for more than 15 minutes. It was like half an hour. They decided to come back. They just got onto that street, like ways away. Obviously, it was all locked down.
Yeah.
They were on their way back, and then the explosion happened. So, it's just all around weird. There was supposedly human remains found in there. There was 3 people injured in the explosion. I don't know if they were police officers or what, but there was nobody significantly injured or killed.
Right.
And they supposedly identified the person of interest as the person that was killed in it, which is why the would he kill himself? If this it makes no sense. Why would he just blow himself up? If he was trying to blow something up, do it remotely. There's no sense to just murder yourself.
You don't know that. You don't know what he's thinking.
Right.
Everybody has their up reasons.
But
I don't know. It does. It just, there's a lot of unanswered questions there.
Yeah.
But if it was him, if a person like that, generally, if they're gonna blow themselves up, they leave some sort of manifesto or say that it's them or want some sort of instead of just killing yourself and then we have to piece together like there's no guarantee that we're gonna find out that it was him.
I thought a lot of the Facebook chatter on it, is pretty funny as it's like, this guy is, it's just some crack job. Well, it's like, how does, it doesn't make any sense that basically what you're saying, the one lone guy just randomly.
What bothers me most about it is they pin it. I just spilled whiskey all over my dick. That's not what bothers me most about it.
That has adverse effects, I hear.
That's not a sentence you hear a lot of times.
They found his DNA on the scene and it was his RV, so they're like, oh, it's him. That's what bothers me about it.
Well, most. And there's a lot of.
I mean, who's to say somebody didn't kill him, find his body, throw him in the RV?
I would bet my life savings that he was dead in that RV before.
Yeah,
I would guarantee it. Somebody.
So had they discovered there was? Did you say there was 2 or 3 other remains in the building?
No, there was only 2. There was 3 people injured.
Okay,
he was killed He was supposedly killed in the explosion.
Well, and another funny thing is, the FBI investigated this, and within 5 days they had. Yep,
I don't even think it was that.
It was
a day or 2. Yeah. Oh, it was him, and supposedly he was on the FBI's radar because a year earlier, and this is so stupidly convenient and bullshit. Like his ex-wife or girlfriend called him in one time a year ago for making bombs in the RV. They didn't look into it because they didn't have reasonable cause to go look into his RV or anything. They're just saying that happened. Like, you. Like, that is the most convenient.
Well, and that's
how stupid do these people think Americans are?
Well, and that's the funny thing is, like, the FBI literally investigates dumber shit than this, and it takes them 5 fucking years, and they can't figure out a goddamn thing. Right. And within 2 fucking days, they're like, "Yep, that was it, and here's his cause. There we go, done, close case."
Yeah, but they never told they said he might have been thinking 5G was caused cancer.
Oh, I did hear
shit.
that. Okay,
but there's no other reasoning other than that. They just saying he's crazy.
There was something.
To play devil's advocate here, that's very possible. There's a lot of conspiracy theory out there about like 5G.
Right.
And
absolutely.
This dude could have just been a fucking nut job and be like, AT&T.
But why would he kill
5G?
himself?
I don't know.
It doesn't add up. The
martyr to be a martyr.
Yeah. I don't know.
But if he wanted to be a martyr, he would have left a manifesto or something to say that it was him, rather than just thinking that we would find out that it's him.
There's a lot of loose ends. Yeah.
It doesn't add up.
Did suicide bombers leave manifestos?
Yeah, not generally.
They're martyrs.
A lot of them.
Right.
Yeah.
But
they're doing it for an entirely different reason. They think that they're going to go 72.
See, that's the problem here is you think you know this guy's mindset, so you're saying there's no way you do that. Because the truth is nobody knows this dude's fucking mindset or what was going through his head.
And that's the thing is we try and get into the mind of someone who does this and justify their mind as a normal human's mind, and it's not.
But
you know, what
it may not make sense to you, but it may make sense to them.
Do you honestly think the way that we've seen 2020 going, everything going on, do you honestly to God think that it was this guy? I think it could be this guy. I don't think it was. I think it could. I'm not going to take everything at face value. I'm not going to. Oswald. It could have been him too, but that shit don't add up either.
Well, I guess one of my first thoughts is maybe it was him. Maybe that side found somebody that was susceptible and they could talk him into it.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we need this building taken out. Oh, pick me. You know, I mean, I don't know.
It's also entirely possible that, maybe he was reported for making bombs in his RV a year ago, and that put him on the list for FBI, and they're like, okay, this guy's fucking nuts. We could use this guy.
Right.
That's also possible.
Ding, 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 ding.
Right.
Yeah.
Winner, chicken dinner. I would bet my life savings. All
43 cents.
That it was not that guy did not act alone, and it wasn't what they're telling us.
I
guarantee.
I saw one article that made me laugh. They're like, we don't think this dude was smart enough to have another guy going in on this. What?
Yeah, we found his remains, and based on his burnt remains, he wasn't smart enough.
Right. Yeah, and who's to say he was the
it takes smarts to do that?
Yeah, right. Who's to say he was the brains of the operation? Who's to say there's not another dude out there running it?
Yeah, I don't know.
The whole thing just stinks to high heaven.
Yeah, there's way too many coincidences. Well, and the other thing that was, the AT&T got the contract to do the Dominion voting stuff and all that, and I know, Box, you asked about that on Facebook.
I have yet to see any proof.
Nobody has shown. There's
and that's what I saw. The initial headline was that.
Yeah,
and there was a voting place.
Yeah, they were going to do the investigation of the Dominion voting machines or whatever. They had won the contract of it, and it's like, well, yeah, where's the proof of that? Who's show us that AT&T was going to do the Dominion voting.
Right.
I mean, what judges have actually allowed an audit of these machines other than the ones in Michigan, and that audit was already done.
Right.
No, I think Georgia did. I think there's some what?
I'm moving this and I'm looking over it.
But also there was a New York publisher, a print house, was suspected of printing ballots. That just miraculously burned down.
See, that's what I was going to say. I saw that. I pleaded ignorance on a lot of that initial Nashville thing we're talking about. Mm-hmm. I saw a little bit, and then I saw something else. There was two things that were, in my feed or whatever the hell it was. But
no,
it's like we all know that
there's some deeper shit going on.
There's people sitting here.
There's definitely a dark state. Come on.
There's somebody sitting around in a circle right now that know everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. And that are sitting there calling Americans dumb motherfuckers because they're buying all
the
this
Illuminati.
Shit.
We got to get them on.
Got to be
I don't know.
Let's call them up. Hey, Illuminati, we know you're listening to this. Maybe we just want to talk.
Maybe they're rednecks in Tennessee that are running everything. I don't know.
Is it the Illuminati or is it the lizard people?
Somebody knows.
Or are they the same thing?
I think I saw something that they thought this dude actually believed in lizard people too.
Really?
That was another option that I saw.
Here we go.
He believes in aliens or something, and then they've already come in.
Did you see I don't remember. Did we talk about it or not? That Israeli guy, that Israeli scientist who said there was like a base on Mars and with aliens, and the United States and the major governments of the world know about these aliens, and they're just waiting until the people are ready.
Actually, interesting point.
Hey, it wouldn't surprise me at this point.
The Senate.
This guy also just released a book that he's trying to sell, so quite possible we're trying to sell some books.
Right. We're going to talk about aliens in the next few podcasts, actually. But the Senate, what was it, Box, just released?
It was included.
UFOs.
It was included in this bill that I don't know what exact agency or whatever, but they have 180 days to come up with a report to submit to the Intelligence Committee of Congress and some other agency as well on unidentified flying objects. Yeah.
Yeah, and
because there was that one
because it was
a couple years ago that the Navy actually came out and confirmed that it was a real video where you can. It's a jet.
Yeah. Well, it's
Sorry.
6 o'clock.
It's 6 o'clock in Pearson. Don't mind this. Shit, hit the deck, Mike.
We touched a touchy subject. They're on to us.
It's probably going to be that one that goes on for 10 minutes too. Oh no!
Right. But yeah, they were. Well, and yes, they confirmed that one video that we don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And basically, they're releasing the information on the UFOs and stuff because they feel it's a pertinent information to national security because they're unidentified crafts. That they're not necessarily saying they're aliens, but they could be other nations,
Oh,
like the
absolutely.
Russians coming up with
Or rich
basically
sons of bitches
stealth vehicles
running their
that
own
are
shit,
stealth vehicles
So-
that can infiltrate past our radar and things like
Should
that.
we try and step this back and not get on the alien subject if we want to talk on this in a later subject?
Yes,
Or are we
yes.
going to be here all fucking night talking about the Nashville bombing and aliens and
Yeah,
everything
right.
else?
We've been going for 4 hours.
We're gonna run out of tape pretty soon.
Right? I forgot where we were at though. How did we get to? Oh, that guy believed in aliens. That's what it was.
Yeah, lizard
Yeah.
people.
Okay, we're
Yep.
gonna step back to the Nashville bombings now.
Yeah. I think,
It's all too crazy. I think if you buy what the news tells you, I think you're f***ing
You're-
nuts.
and I
Yeah.
think that's about any
I can't
subject
watch
that,
the nightly news. I used to try
yeah.
just to watch a couple minutes, and now I just get so dang pissed
Well,
off.
and it's
So
the sad part is it's even getting to local news.
Oh yeah,
Like even the Sioux City stations around here are starting to really get
oh yeah.
unwatchable.
Well, because it's all Associated Press, man.
Right.
It's
Right.
all f***ing
They're all
horseshit.
connected.
Yeah, they all get the same scripts to read about national stories and
Which-
shit. So
I shouldn't say anything, but f*** the Associated Press. Those cocksuckers are suing me right now.
Yeah,
I can't go into that
Have
too
you
much.
already covered that? Because I don't
no,
know.
I haven't
Okay.
talked about that. I can't talk in too
I
much
knew
greater
there-
detail until it's done. But
Gotcha.
bastards.
yeah. Like I need another reason to hate them. Johnson, did you have do we want to talk? Are we good on that subject? Should we move on?
We
to
could talk about it all fucking night.
Well, yeah,
Right.
yeah, we could. but-
We should gauge how everyone's feeling. Does everyone want to sit here and talk for a long time or not?
I'm kind of hungry.
I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Let's.
I was thinking range day, but I didn't bring anything.
Well, we got a range in the basement.
It's true, we do.
Ooh.
I shit you not.
I mean, it's a pile of doors, but
It works.
Works for back.
It works. I shot a lot of bullets down there. Johnson, did you have a what a douche?
I do.
All right, let's roll into that. What a douche!
All right. There was a gentleman in Texas who
That
was
that was like magic.
Right?
I'm still okay. Go ahead. Ignore me.
there was a gentleman in Texas stopped by a game warden. Him and his buddy were out fishing, and they didn't have licenses. They didn't have valid fishing licenses, and he knew it, and his buddy knew it. So when the game warden stopped him, he gave him a different guy's name. He gave a different name, a name of one of his friends, because he knew that he had warrants. Well, the game warden was going to know that he had warrants if he gave him his real name, right? So he was like, "Oh, I don't want to get arrested on these warrants. I better, tell him my buddy's name." What he didn't understand was that his buddy also had felony warrants. So then he gets arrested on his friend's warrants, gets taken in, and then when he finally gets to jail, he was like, "Okay, I was telling you the wrong name," and gives him
So
his
then he
real.
gets charged with that too.
So he got charged with all of his original warrants that he actually had,
Was
and lying to a police
Yeah.
officer and giving false information. So
good lord.
I'm going to go ahead and guess those guys aren't real good friends anymore.
I'm betting not.
The guy that got arrested is probably pissed off at the guy's name that he
Right.
used.
Oh,
It's
I'm
like, you
sure.
got me arrested, you son of a bitch. I didn't
Yeah.
know you had warrants.
Right. Yeah. So he was booked into jail under the false name. And then once he was booked in, he gave them their real name and was like, those aren't my warrants. And then they're like, well, these are your real warrants, So
Does it say what his warrants were?
it doesn't. I wish it did, but it doesn't.
I'll bet they're real stupid.
So
I'm sure, failure to pay for a parking ticket,
Yeah,
or something
like
stupid
that.
shit like that.
And his friend was like a meth dealer.
Right, far worse.
Yeah.
You know what's horseshit is lying to a police officer is a crime, but them lying to us, that's just
Well,
that's cool.
and that
That's
depends.
okay.
That depends state to state, because I've seen I read some of the comments on this article, and they were saying that that's not an actual charge in the state of Texas. Lying to a police officer isn't an actual charge in the state of Texas. That's just
Really?
something they use to kind of get him to fess up, I think.
Yeah, but
'Cause he's
I
catching
know
extra
lying
charges.
to a federal officer
yeah.
or whatever is a crime, but politicians can lie to us,
Well,
on a
hey,
daily basis.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I
That's
like
dope.
lying to my boss. Idiots.
I hope Johnson's boss doesn't listen to this. But
No. I'm pretty good with my boss. He's a pretty good dude. So I don't ever tend to lie to him. I'm just saying, I don't. Who lies to and especially like politicians when they're,
I think
well, that's just like the Joe Biden and the I don't work for you thing, It's kind of it's like,
Yeah.
well,
You know what government is, right, Joe?
Do you know how any of this works? Joe?
Right. You're missing the point.
that's
Are you that deep into the dementia? I know you got dementia, but that
Yes,
deep?
yes, he is.
term. That's something that needs to be addressed. Like they
Yeah.
should not be able to. They 100% should not be able to stand there and tell us one thing about, say, their record or what they intend to do that is a straight fucking lie,
Mm-hmm.
and turn around and do another thing. They need to be held accountable for this.
Yeah.
Number one. Number
Right.
two, term limits.
Term limit. Yeah.
I mean,
I loved all the memes on Facebook of, you see that lady in the library with this book that's 4 feet high, and it was like, just checking to see if term limits got snuck into this bill.
Right.
It was like,
Oh,
yeah.
that bill, don't get
there's
me
not a
started.
person in the entire. You know how long it would take one normal person to read a 4,000-page book?
Oh.
It'd be weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
You'd have to have a whole team of people going through,
Like, and so how are we voting on this within hours? Like,
Right.
I don't.
Have they ever put forward who initiated the bill? I mean,
I don't know.
who was? I mean, don't get me
It was a
started.
Democrat wet dream from the House.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
essentially
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
But and I got a video that I've kind of roughly in the works. Not just about that, but I'm just so tired of this shit. Like I've always up until this point, I've always thought that the United States was we could be redeemed.
Yeah.
That we could vote our way out of this, that we could protest our way out of this, but we've been under lock and key lockdown for Corona. A lot of states have for 9 months now.
Right.
Yeah.
And the first bill was $1,200 to Americans, and how much went overseas? The second bill, after 9 months of lockdown, and what did they give Americans? $600 after they bankrupted. After they bankrupted how many fucking businesses? Hundreds of thousands of businesses.
Yeah.
And they send $600 to Americans and $700 million
Right.
to foreigners.
$700 billion.
$700 billion to foreigners
It's ludicrous.
and corporations.
Yep.
Like, I'm to the point now, I don't think that we can be redeemed without physical violence. I don't
Yeah.
think that it's
And
going to
we're
happen.
getting, and if we're not there right now, we're getting closer
It's-
and closer
yeah,
every
yeah,
day.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
just
Sad.
I'm baffled by it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pissed. I'm upset. That $600 that they give me, I'm fucking giving away to somebody that actually needs it because it's fucking bullshit.
Right,
I'm
I don't
tired of
want
this
it.
Shit.
Right.
I'm literally going to Hy-Vee buying a bunch of gift cards. I'll probably get $1,000 worth of gift cards and give them to somebody that fucking needs them. Like, I'm
Yep.
trying at least like.
Try to make something.
Like I'm pissed. I'm like, and I think the majority of Americans are about this,
Mhm.
and a lot of Americans are pissed because they're only getting $600 and they wanted more. But no, I don't give a shit. I don't want my money. I don't want fucking money. I want you to give it to somebody that you bankrupted.
Right.
Well, I do want my money.
Well, you
I
probably
mean,
probably need it. Do you want $100
Well,
gift
no,
card?
I'm saying it is our money. It's fucking tax money.
Yeah,
It's
it
our mon-
is.
It's our
It is.
money.
It 100% is. But I don't need it. I don't want you to give me this shit for fucking beans
Nothing,
money.
yeah.
I wanted you to give it to somebody that needs it instead of fucking giving it to corporations and illegal aliens and special interests in other countries. Asia got
gender studies in Pakistan.
$10 million for that shit. And I saw one of my Facebook friends justifying that shit the other day, saying, "Well, that's kind of important." Fuck you, cunt. That ain't important. We're fucking hundreds of thousands of businesses are dying in America, and you think gender studies in Pakistan is important? The f*** is wrong with you?
I saw a meme earlier. I think it might have been while we were on break. That said, if we're spending all this money on gender research, we should put it towards this. And it's just a picture of Michelle Obama.
I saw that one too.
Perfect.
I think we should start here. Study this gender.
Right. Yeah, if that bill was given the same amount to us as people and the rest to America businesses and things like that, I'm fine with it. But sending the money outside of where we got,
Yeah, and
I'm tired of being everybody's frickin' Band-Aid.
The $1.3 trillion, I think is what it was total, right? It was $1.3 trillion.
Yeah, I think so.
And 75% of it is going to not the United States.
Not
that makes
okay.
Absolutely no sense.
No, not okay.
No.
And why are we not? What can we do? We got to do something.
Right. It's like, how do we, as as taxpayers, how do you, what do you do to say that's not okay to send our money?
Right.
Because that's my money. That's your money. That's everyone else, every taxpayer's money, and it's going out of the country.
And you know what? I at this point, I think that it's so messed up, but I don't think it's either them or left or right on that. This shit got through, and it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone needs to be held accountable for it. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on.
Yeah,
that shit's it's messed up.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing is like
we gotta.
It passed through the House and the Republicans were like, see, look at this shit. Look at what the Democrats did because it's a Democrat-controlled House.
Right.
And then it went to the Senate. Guess what? It's a Republican-controlled Senate. What did they do?
Right.
Nothing.
They passed it too. They're just as guilty as those other cocksuckers.
That's what I got.
They all need to be held. And then Trump said, guess what? Well, I'm not going to sign this shit. Guess what he did?
Signed it.
He signed that shit. And he was in a tough spot. That sucks. But I don't know what he should have done. I don't know because
I don't know that there was.
He
should
have held his ground. You were going to fucking demonize him no matter what.
You're out of here.
Right.
I mean, at least make a fighting stand,
make
a shit pile stand or something.
Yeah,
I just like I said,
it's sickening. It's all around not good.
I like I said, up until this point, I thought that we could be redeemed. I thought that this could be fixed, but it's not. Like we could have taken that $1.3 trillion and done good for it.
Yeah, injected it back into the economy
and done
really
something good instead of $1.3 billion of the fucking Smithsonian Institute. It's not even open right now.
Yeah,
those cocksuckers. That's horseshit. You know how much money that could have done good to the rest of the country, the small businesses. It's absurd. It's fucking absurd. And I think I don't know what to do about it, but I think a lot of Americans are right here, right at this point, just as pissed off as me. Right. And guess what happens when you keep fucking pushing us? Not good things.
Right.
I don't know what happens because you've never pushed us this far.
Right.
But it ain't gonna be good. It ain't gonna be good when people like Sambo snaps.
Sure.
Oh, get started a Sambo, guys.
Right.
He goes by Sambo. He's terrifying.
Just kind of like Rambo, except Sambo. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just frustrated.
I totally hear you. I mean, we're almost at that point of no return.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're not there now, we're going to be soon.
I think we were there 12 years ago, probably, but
yeah,
that's just me.
That's where the slippery slope started.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The case could be made that the slippery slope started right after 9/11.
Yeah,
I think the Patriot Act and all that shit, but who knows?
Yep.
So, guys, I had no idea how long we are. I think we're.
You're not very long at all. I heard
7 inches. 7 inches on a good day. But
in your dreams.
No, in my dreams, I'm more like 11 or 12.
Right. I shoot big in my dreams.
I saw another meme the other day. It says, "My penis isn't 12 inches, but it smells like a foot."
That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good.
Smells like a foot.
Boys and girls.
On that note,
Yeah.
Like I say, every single podcast, it's been a fun one as usual. Mike, thank you so much for coming in.
I'm so glad you asked me to do this. It's
was-
been something I've been looking forward to on one level or another, and it lived up to everything I thought it would be.
Good.
Good.
This was one of my favorite podcasts we've ever done. So,
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Box, thanks for being here. Johnson, thanks for being here.
Absolutely.
It's been a fun one. Yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Make sure you check us out on our Facebook every other Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time.
I just want to plea. Can we need to switch that because I'm on a 2-week rotating schedule, and it's always where I can enjoy gears and beers.
We need to get off on a
Yeah,
week.
just switch.
We need to flip a week.
And then when you finally do, they'll change my stuff at work, and I'll be like,
Could we?
I think originally we were, but we
Yeah.
missed some time and we had to reschedule. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
what
it
made
was-
us.
Yeah, either I switched or you something switched.
Could
and
we do that somehow? Could we get switched?
I'd pay you.
Probably.
I'd contribute.
I mean, we'd have to think about it. I don't know how. Nothing off the top of my head. pops
I
out
mean,
at me,
it's
but
not like it.
No,
It wouldn't. I don't think it would take a whole lot.
no. I mean, we could just go on for the of it one night without it being
Yeah.
a regular
Just do
episode.
2 weeks.
Either
Just do
skip
2
one
weeks
or
in a
do
row.
2 in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll think about it. See what we can come up
All
with.
right.
Mike. But thanks for being on. It's been
Yes.
it's been a damn good time.
We should probably get the rest of the viewers' opinion on that.
Sure.
Whether you think we should go
Yeah. No.
alternating weeks with
yeah.
beers and beers.
Because it works out okay, but I
Not
just
that yours
don't-
isn't important, Mike.
right. Yeah. Everyone else counts more than me. That's fine.
What do you mean box alternating weeks? We already do alternating weeks.
Just he's saying switch.
But we release.
Yeah, because we release.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, we release every Monday is the problem.
Mhm.
But, like this is going to be released a week and a half from
you
now.
do this in tandem with the
Yeah,
Yeah,
the live
so-
show.
So that we have the live show. So we'll have like the live show will be this Wednesday.
Okay. Well, if it's a huge deal, no big deal.
and
But-
then the following Monday, the podcast will be released.
Gotcha.
And then the following Wednesday,
you're live.
yeah.
Okay.
So, but as to our actual podcast on our podcast feed, it's released every Monday.
Okay.
Mhm.
Like so,
Oh.
this Monday, 2 days from now, will be the last Gears and Beers that we did. A week
Mhm.
from then will be this podcast, this actual podcast here,
Gotcha.
and it's every Monday,
Yep.
which is so that's why we do it that way. But
Well,
we'll see what we can do.
kick it around.
We'll kick it around, sniff it a little bit. But make sure you check us out every other Wednesday night on Facebook, 8:30 on the Life Short Live Free podcast. And make sure you check out BallisticImagery.com with the coupon code LSLF21.
2021.
2021.
21. Yeah,
2021.
I am going to check that out.
I suppose I could actually make it 21. That might be easier. Let's make, yeah. Well, I already said it at the beginning. I can't switch it. Nope. It's got to stay LSLF 2021, folks.
Well, they'll figure it out.
I don't know. Not everybody listens to the whole thing.
Also, make sure you check out ShyWorks.com if you want something
Iowa's
from there.
preferred coder.
That's right. Absolutely. I got all sorts of goodies on there, too. Backplates, patches, magazines. I'll soon have mag bases and everything there. Coupon code FIRST10 gets you 10% off your first order there.
Yep.
And yeah, it's been a fantastic one. Let's go drink some beers and fire up the heater and get warm again. And guys, thanks for hanging out. We appreciate you guys. We love you. Make sure you tell your friends about us. Your freedom loving friends. Your communist friends. Convert them, everybody. And we
Go
appreciate
out and
it.
become a mortician.
That's right. Go do some mortician stuff.
And don't be an asshole.
But make sure you're licensed to be a mortician.
Yes.
Don't do that.
Don't
like-
on the side. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably not. Probably not good.
All right, guys.
Back alley
Love
mortician.
you. Love you.
We appreciate you guys. Until we talk to you next time, remember, life's short, live free, God bless, and God bless the United States of America.
Repeal the NFA.
And
Yeah.
defund the ATF.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.